Welcome back to another episode of Humans for Humanity. Some women lose themselves in the roles they were told to play. Others burn the script and write a new frequency in their own name. This is Humans for Humanity, not just a podcast, a reclamation ground for those done being drained, dismissed, or domesticated. A sanctuary for women who are no longer available for energetic theft disguised as love, loyalty, or lineage. And today we're joined by a woman who stopped letting the world siphon her softness. She turned depletion into discernment, alchemized manipulation into manifestation, and she's not here to be palatable. She's here to be powerful. Cece, known as Vibin' with Cece, is a life and energy coach, a podcast host, and a voice behind Show Up as Her, a guidebook for women ready to stop shapeshifting and start showing up fully. Millions have found her through her unapologetic podcast, That Bitch is Positive. But this isn't just good vibes and girl talk, it's protection, it's power, it's permission to never again abandon yourself.
You have to start thinking and reflecting, where have you been accepting crumbs? And where are you ready to feast? We want to talk about girl dinner. Okay, girl dinner is about feasting, not accepting crumbs. It's about saying, I want more, so I'm going to get more. If you raise your standard just 10%, what would your life look like?
Because Cece knows what it means to leak energy to people who prey on your light, to stay too long in rooms that eat you alive, to mistake your depletion for devotion. And she made it her mission to teach other women to never make that mistake again. This episode is for the women who feel it in their bones. You're done being tired, done being nice, done bleeding your essence just to be loved. Let's begin. Thank you so much, Cece, for being here. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
It is such an honor to be here, especially after that intro. Ooh, girl. I was like nodding my head. Yeah.
I had to match the energy, you know?
Oh my god, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
All right, let's see where we're going to start off here.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going right in the realm of confidence in entrepreneurship after a rebirth.
Mm.
There was a before this bitch is positive and there is a now this bitch is positive. Talk about that shift.
Okay, so I graduated college. It was during COVID as well, and I was going through a breakup, and I felt really lost. I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go into. I did communications in college, and you can do anything with that. There's really no guidelines. It's not like you're studying to be an accountant. You take the test, now you're an accountant. I didn't know how to find answers in the external world. So I started just screaming to God. And at that point, I didn't really know what God even was. I just called out to something beyond me because I knew my human mind did not have an answer of which direction to go into. And I called out to God and I said that famous prayer that's a little bit dangerous if you've ever heard it, which is, please remove anyone who needs to go. And I said, do this in service of my purpose. Show me what it is so that I know what step to take and I have the momentum to take it. And I'm not kidding. 2 days later, I found out my then partner slept with someone else. And yeah, I was hysterically crying, and then I started laughing because I go, "Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't even about you." I go, "This is what divine intervention is." I go, "God is real. This is real. I asked and it was given." And in that moment, I did note to myself, "Cece, next time be way more specific and maybe say, okay, show me my purpose in a way that doesn't hurt like hell and destroy my life." Okay, that was noted duly, but I did get what I asked for. I did say, "Remove what needs to be removed and show me my purpose." After that happened, I could not fathom how to get over it. I went to therapists, I tried reading some books, and honestly, it wasn't the therapist or the books, it was everything. It was the shamans, it was the Reiki healers, it was the group circles, it was everything. It was finding that secret place within, doing the meditation, praying. I lost him, but when that happened, I actually found myself and I found a lot of my shadows. I found, "Oh, girl, you got attachment system issues. You are really codependent. You don't know what your purpose is because you've been so focused on his." And when he left my life, it was like a total mental, physical, spiritual detox. And because I finally had space and I wasn't fearing someone was going to abandon me because they already left, I thought that would be the thing that would kill me. And I realized it was actually the thing that gave me the strength to find myself. And I started to reflect in that moment. And I'll never forget, I was staring at myself in the mirror, but I was just looking at my eyes. And it was my first spiritual download I ever got where I was aware that something outside of me just spoke to me. And the sentence that came through was along the lines of, if you got yourself here unconsciously, you can get yourself out of here consciously. And it was just not a learning moment, but a remembrance of I am a conscious co creator, but I've been unconsciously attracting circumstance based on my past conditioning and programming, not based in my truth or my divinity. And then I went on this whole entire journey to find out what that meant. And that is what got me here with the TikTok, with the book, with the podcast. And I think what really shifted my self-concept, you know what it was? I didn't always have the confidence to necessarily do it, but I heard a voice in meditation say, "Get on TikTok," and I listened. Because once I heard the first little, "If you got yourself here, you can get yourself out of here," I started to just follow the energy because my words of wisdom weren't getting myself anywhere. I did not know what step to take, but that voice, even though I didn't fully know what it was leading me in the right direction. It's not that I had total confidence, it's I have nothing else to lose, so I might as well do this.
Right. It's interesting because the way you describe that, it's like literally a program. Like you got this code from your higher self that was like, no, we're going to stop this program. So, talk about communication, your higher self. So, talk about when your system got this download that said you got yourself here unconsciously, you can get yourself anywhere else consciously. Talk about what's the one piece of your childhood that tried to fight that new program?
Ooh, so there is a line where Jesus says, "Not even he can be a prophet in his hometown." And that really resonated with me because everyone knew me as who I was. And I kind of felt like I was never valued or celebrated. I felt like an underdog. And even though I was a child and always knew I was meant to have a big impact, I remember seeing Hannah Montana the first time ever on TV. And I literally said aloud, "Oh, I'm going to do that." I didn't necessarily mean a pop star, but I knew I was meant to speak to an audience. And I think that little voice, because my reality was so messy, I couldn't cling on to physical environmental comforts anymore. I had to listen to something. And if my environment was going to shift, whether or not I wanted it to, I had to hold on to something that felt sturdy. And that was that little inkling I had since I was a child. And I felt like it was a really big blessing that that ex left my life. I had a bunch of friends leave my life at that point. So environmental triggers that would metaphorically be that hometown were removed from my life. And I had finally the space to say, usually I would be so uncomfortable and embarrassed and worried about what people were going to think of me. But now that they're not really in my orbit, F it. I don't have anyone else here to judge me. It's just me and God at this point. I might as well just go for it and see what happens. And I really believe it's such a cliche at this point. Rejection is really redirection, but it's so true. Because instead of me filling up my life with people who couldn't see my value, which would then make me feel worse, I then released them and started to rely on my own perception to tell me what my value was. If you keep people who don't really believe in you, who know you as your younger self, who have really held you captive in a certain image, but you're trying to now escape it, it's a lot harder when they're there because they're going to constantly remind you of your past. They're going to invite you to do things that your past self would do, but you're not trying to do that anymore. So, what really helped me was kind of feeling alone and then venturing out into I physically feel alone. What's going on beyond the veil? Is there angels there? Do I have a spirit team? Is there a loving ancestor here that can help me? And I started talking to them. They gave me the confidence. They somehow, because we're all connected, really incited within me a feeling of unconditional love, and I felt like they tied a little thread around me and just pulled me. They just pulled me into what I needed to do next. And I am a huge proponent of relying on divine assistance and asking for help when you need it because there's no promise that the people in your physical reality are going to see your worth, understand your vision, or support you, but they weren't assigned to you either. There is a divine team that is assigned to you to help you do exactly that. So I just switched my perspective from the physical to the unseen.
Right. That's interesting because a lot of people feel very alone and they would love to embody that mindset of surrender, like tie the string around me and pull
Yeah.
me. Teamwork, teamwork. Oh, we got 2. Okay, so how do you then surrender to working with your spirit team when you feel disconnected from yourself? Like, take me and help me, spirit team, but like, how do I communicate with them? How would the average person watching this know how to do that?
You talk to them like you would talk to literally anyone on this planet. It's so much simpler than you think. They know how you feel because the way they operate is completely different than humans. But just talk to them. I'm very direct. If I feel like my confidence is low, I'll say, okay, show me my true worth externalized. Show me really how abundant I am in my reality because I don't see it right now. I need you to show me. I need you to kind of pop my balloon here and show me what I'm really capable of achieving and having. If I have a sting in my heart, I'm going through a breakup, I say, okay, spirit team, remove the sting from my heart. I specifically, when it comes to matters of the heart, always work with Ascended Master Jesus. I say, remove this sting and fill me with your light. Ask them for whatever you need. There is no, there's really nothing that's too big to ask. They literally are assigned to you to help you. So, whether it's abundance or love, or you're trying to move through an emotion, use your words to just talk to them. And if you don't have the words, just say, I don't really know what to say, but I know I just need help. I don't really know what I'm destined for or what my purpose is, but just give me something that makes me feel better. Just show me something that makes me feel better. And the more you talk to them, the more you're going to feel them. If you're just starting out, maybe you're seeing feathers or coins or angel numbers like 111222, but ask them for a direct sign of, a red rose or a blue starfish, something that if you saw it, you would think that's a little weird. And it's not something that you usually see. Create a relationship. Make it your responsibility to get to know them. This is your life, it's your party. You're the one with the invite list. If you want divine assistance, you have to be the one to invite them to your party and just speak to them. And you might feel a little weird. You might feel a little crazy because we're so indoctrinated to believe that all that is real is just this physical 3D world, but our senses are so limited. When I don't wear my glasses, the world is blurry. Is that because the world is actually blurry? Of course not. I'm just limited. And we are limited in this energetic realm by these five senses. And so people have assumed, well, that's all there is. But there's so much more. And you can actually cultivate this sixth sense. You can cultivate that third eye, that crown chakra, if you really go out on a limb and just try something different, try something new. Just talk to them. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. I would just say if you're starting out new, I would attach onto the sentence, spirit team of highest truth, love, and compassion, or highest healing spirit guides. If you're going to call on them, call on the best ones.
Right. Yeah, that was good. Wow, yeah. Okay, so let's take it in that perspective then. Throat chakra.
Mm.
When it comes to standing up for the thing that is right, even if it means you're standing alone. Talk on that topic.
So I grew up with a program just like everyone does. Mine was the good girl. And I learned rather quickly if I wanted love, connection, and positive attention from my caregivers, you appease. So if they believe something, so do I. If they want me to have straight A's, I already do. If they want me to look perfect and dress a certain way, I'm showing up exactly as that. So I learned that whether it was a business partner or a friendship or a relationship, how do I connect to other? I go back to that program I originally learned, which was be the good girl, be the people pleaser. Eventually, I saw what that program was creating in my reality, and it would just attract people who took advantage of me. It would attract people who were kind of narcissistic. It would attract relationships where I always felt underfed and I was giving everything. So I was very depleted. And I saw that my work wasn't valued. I would attract clients, but they couldn't pay me what I knew I was worthy of. I would attract business partnerships, but it would always end up in disappointment. And that's because I wasn't willing to stand on my truth and in my standard. And when that built up, eventually, it was so painful that I said, "All right, something's wrong here. I have to make a change." Because realistically, when do we make a change? It's not usually when everything is rainbows and butterflies. It's when we get to a point, "Wow, this is so painful. I cannot do this anymore." That is what had to happen to me. I didn't blame my reality. I didn't blame the people or the circumstance or the external whatever it may be. I said, "What about me? What program do I have? What belief system do I have that I keep attracting experiences where I do feel like the underdog or I don't feel valued for who I am?" And it was because I wasn't valuing my own word. So, how could anyone else? I wasn't valuing my own boundary. How could anyone else? I wasn't even speaking up for myself. So, how could they know where I begin and where I end? And when I realized, okay, they're showing me a part of my program, they're reflecting back to me my shadow self, which is this powerful self that I've shoved down and siphoned. I need to bring that shadow to the light. I need to start speaking up for myself and start small, little stakes. It's your nail technician, the person who's doing your hair. It's someone who's not life and death. Speak up for yourself. When they cook your meat wrong, speak up for yourself. Then bring that into your relationship. When someone's crossing your boundaries, speak up for yourself. You can take 20 minutes to think about it, to wash your face, to take a shower, and then even write it down if you have to. And there were times where my voice was literally shaking because I was so afraid of, well, if I say this, they might leave. And then there comes that abandonment wound. If I speak up for myself, they might leave. You know what? Yeah, sometimes they did leave, but the person who never left again was myself. And that is the only person I actually truly need because I came here to first embody and feel and experience my own energy. Why would I go this whole incarnation constantly abandoning the one thing I condensed into 3D form for? It doesn't make any sense. And it really is practice makes progress. And I will say the universe will give you positive reinforcement. The universe is going to favor when you stand up for yourself. Fortune favors the bold. And you're going to start to see that you get better results. And it's almost like that little cookie that you're just like, yeah, I tried something different and I got really good results. I want to do it again. And now when I look back, it's so crazy to me because I love how empowered I feel. I love that when I say, even in a relationship to a man, I said this like 2 months ago, "Oh, I only go out with men who pick me up." He was so happy to know what my standard was. I was so happy I got the treatment I know I deserved, and we were actually able to create this relationship. But if you don't say what you need, You can't teach people how to treat you. You can't get what you actually want. And you're blocking your own throat chakra, but also you're going to have this internal frustration because every single night you're going to bed wanting more, but you're not allowing yourself to receive more. So, who needs to give you permission? But you need to give yourself permission and literally tell yourself, I'm going to allow myself to start getting more. And when you do that, a really funny thing happens. The electromagnetic field we reside in will bend to your will. It's going to listen to you. But if you keep accepting less, the universe thinks you're okay with it. And it's going to keep delivering you that same emotional outcome of frustration or whatever it may be, because even though you're frustrated, you're still allowing it. And when you allow something, you amplify it. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. You're saying it's okay. Action is so important.
Right. That was good. You know who never left again? Myself. Let's talk
Mhm.
about that because abandonment is everyone's vulnerable spot. Not everyone, but a lot of people's vulnerable spot. What is one thing that you learned when you stopped abandoning yourself?
How much I really like myself, how much I really enjoy my own energy, how almost regretful I am that I hadn't tapped into her sooner, that she's so cool and awesome, and I had no freaking clue that she was inside of me this whole entire time. I I really learned also that you could be surrounded by so many people and feel completely alone, yet be alone and not feel lonely. So, what is that about? It's just about connection to self. And you feeling lonely has nothing to do with other people and who's around you. It has to do with how well do you know yourself? How willing are you to lean into the loneliness to discover what's there? And I almost feel like loneliness is initiation into reclamation of soul essence. It's initiation, it's an invite to discover who you actually are beyond the programming that you learned. And I will say a positive benefit that I also got out of this was it's so much harder to manipulate me because I like myself. If you want to act funny, if you want to be weird, okay, go do that. I'm not going to stick around. If you want to try to be inconsistent or nonchalant, you can do whatever you want. It's not personal, it's vibrational. But I actually like myself, so I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to take breadcrumbs when I can just give myself a feast. So it's an amazing opportunity to not only learn how cool you are and how awesome you are, because remember, you chose to incarnate as this essence, but also you become more powerful because once you discover how cool you are, you're not going to want to give her up again. You're going to be protective of her, not out of fear, but out of self devotion. And you'll be harder to manipulate. You'll be able to attract better relationships because you're not going to stick around where people are just tolerating you.
Right. What would you say to the people who are sitting around and they want that? They want to choose that. They want to have those boundaries. They want to have that confidence. They want to say no is a full sentence and I don't need to explain myself. But every time they did, it ended in heartache.
Mhm.
What would you say to get them to want to try again?
I really think all of those experiences are almost like building blocks, trying to get you to finally step upon your own pedestal. If you stood up for yourself and it ended in heartbreak, congratulations on learning who isn't for you. Because choosing yourself when it's the right person is never going to cut them out of your life. If choosing yourself causes someone to leave, congratulations on finding out exactly who needs to leave. You should not be even upset about this. Of course, feel what you need to feel, but that's a celebration. Because if you have to sacrifice yourself, you have to siphon yourself in order for someone to stay, why would you even want them in your life? Even if you liked them, over time, you would hate who you would become because your nervous system would be overdrive in your sympathetic nervous system. You're going to be bloated, acne, autoimmune. The hair is going to start to become very frail. Even your bones are going to start to become frail. You lose your physical essence, that glow, that spark when you try to claw people into your reality that are not meant to stay there. If you have learned every time I stand up for myself, it ends in heartbreak, you're lying to yourself. The real sentence is every time I stand up for myself, I release what's not mine. I release people who are not meant to stay. I release people who actually push me further into my power. Those people are catalysts. They're meant to test your boundaries. They're meant to train you. Can you stay in your power even when there's someone you think you want? Can you stay in your power even when they're almost right? Can you stay in your power when you see someone who you're like, yes, that's a person that I feel drawn to? Oh no, they're not treating me right. Who do I choose? You have to choose yourself. You're being trained. And if you had this time after time after time after time again, you are a powerful individual and you're meant to transmute that pain into power and probably teach others how to do it too.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So let's take this in the direction of planning then. Let's say you're someone who wants to break out of their shell, they have a talent, they have a skill, or they're waking up to it, but the field is saturated. How do you step out and make it your own after you are starting to see beyond your own protection mechanisms and starting to wanna branch out?
I would even say that nothing's saturated because if you are here and you're a human and you have a vision, okay, that's by divine design. Go do it. If there's no more seats at the table, build your own table. You don't have to rely on your external reality to give you cues on whether to go or to stay or to start or to stop. I would say, actually, in that case, if you're feeling like something's saturated, ignore the 3D and do it anyway. Go for it. There is something inside of you, an internal drive that's pulling you towards a direction that you feel passionate about, well, then you go and you do that passion and you just do what feels in alignment with that creative source. That's it. If you rely on your external reality to dictate your emotions or your behavior or how you show up, okay, you're always going to be a dog on a leash. You have to decide that regardless of who's doing what, how saturated something might look, there's no more seats at the table. There's so many human beings on this planet. And if you feel called to something, that means that you have a built in audience that is waiting to hear your frequency, your voice, or your talent. And that audience could be anywhere. Build it and they will come. Keep going and they will find you. And the further you go, the more you're going to find out, but you just have to start. And if you're in doubt and your emotions are telling you, I'm not sure, those emotions are simply liars. Who cares? Do it anyway. You have to prioritize your intuitive pull over a temporary fleeting feeling of, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you took the leap even before you felt ready because we see it right next to you with show up as her, so let's take it in that direction. Oh, Wheel of Fortune. We like that.
Love.
Looking at that project specifically, what's one thing that the younger version of you would say to you now? Like, "Whoa, blank."
Oh, I love that question. I guess it would be pretty simple. Well, you did it. You built a following. You are influencing audiences globally, people you would never meet in your everyday life in every basically country around the world. And you stayed true to the vision you saw when no one else did. Because that was a theme in my life. I always believed, not even believed, I knew, I just knew I was meant to do something where it was going to have an impact, and I didn't really know how. I didn't really understand what it meant, and that's the thing, you don't get the full picture. You get little intuitive insights or clues, and you're just supposed to follow them. That's it. If you knew everything, there would be no point in incarnating and having this evolution and this growth. So I think she would be really proud of me and happy that regardless of how other people viewed me, I said, I don't care with what my external is telling me right now. There's something bigger here. And I'm just going to find out what it is, even though sometimes I'm scared. Sometimes I'm in doubt. Sometimes my voice is going to shake. Sometimes it's not going to be my best, but I'm still going to show up. I think a lot of people don't wanna try because 'cause they're so afraid of how they're gonna look or what they're gonna show up as. To me, it didn't matter because I had the vision, but it's barely about me. It's more about the mission and what it's meant to do for collective consciousness.
Right. Talk about how interacting with other people along your journey has helped you get a more clear reflection of yourself.
Ooh. So the people around me couldn't really see who I was until I started broadcasting the inner vision of who I knew I was. And then people would message me, "Oh my God, you changed my life. You completely shifted how I saw this because of you, X, Y, and Z." And really, it's not because of me. They took action, they did it. If my frequency helped them get there, that's amazing. When I gave myself permission to show up as I knew myself to really be, or as I wanted to be, you can also say, because I think there's a fine line between unbecoming who you're not and stepping into who you truly are, and also just creating a version of yourself. You can say it either way. But once I decided I'm just going to be who I know I am, other people celebrated that and they valued that. And they would just speak it to me. I saw the physical effect in the 3D of how I was inspiring people. And I even saw cousins of mine telling me, "Your energy is so different now. How are you magnetizing these people?" So it was almost like a wink from the universe. Oh, now they're getting it. Oh, now they're starting to see it now because you have allowed yourself to almost uncloak yourself and just break free of any label that you had prior. And because you're allowing yourself to exist as you are, having other people reflect that and tell me and show me was really awesome. And it brings me to tears still to this day when I read messages because it's so awesome to see something you felt your whole life in the physical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Describe what it felt like to step out of the shadow and finally be like, "Nope, I'm Cece, and I'm not gonna let you see any less than what I wanna show you."
Freedom, ultimate sovereignty, self autonomy. I always say it felt better than any friendship I had in the past, any relationship I had in the past. No one has ever incited the type of emotional outcome that being myself allowed me to feel. Ever, 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 ever. And really, you try to box yourself in or dim your light for all these people thinking it's gonna give you temporary comfort or safety, but it doesn't come anywhere near just freeing yourself to who you actually are, and once you do it, you're never gonna go back because you're gonna taste that freedom. And I think a lot of people think, "Oh, when I'm confident, I'll do X, Y, and Z," but really do X, Y, and Z, and then you'll find your confidence because you're gonna elicit this feeling that you've never experienced before because you're doing something different. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting to get a different result. But when you step into your power, even if you're shaking, that emotion you get from that action, that new decision, oh, you'll skyrocket.
Absolutely. The glorified burnout.
Mhm,
Overwork mistaken for worth. I feel like this goes back to being the good girl that you talked about.
mhm.
Talk about how that has shown up for you. Almost this transactional sense of I need to earn my worth.
Absolutely, that's totally what it was, because I was conditioned to look outside of myself for the answer. Am I okay? I don't know. Well, what do they think? Am I wearing the right thing? Well, I don't know. What do they think? Is this belief okay? Well, I don't know. What do they think? So, I think when I first started out, I was very focused on, is this video getting interaction? Cuz what do they think? Is this what I should do? Cuz what do they think? And I think that's common for when you're getting out on social media because you're kind of trying to figure out what even is this contraption exactly and what is this technology and what exactly is going on. And over time, I really shifted to, instead of this being about productivity, it needs to be about presence. Instead of this being about how much can I produce, it needs to be about my frequency, my broadcast, because it's not about how many people this one video is going to reach. It's getting it to the right person. And I constantly have to remind myself of my value. What's important to me is that I'm an instrument for the divine, that divinity is being channeled through me to help people on the planet. And I think that when you make your value externalize, good girl, are you showing me what I'm worthy of? Am I worthy of this? That's when you go to burnout. And then when I take that value system back and I say, no, 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 what do I actually value? And it's almost like a feminine approach of going internal. How do I feel about this? Does this feel authentic to me? That is always a better creation. And also having fun with it, because a lot of my videos are just channeled information. They come across probably somewhat serious, but I'm a really goofy gal, and that's why my podcast is That Bitch is Positive. Having also my podcast as an outlet to be goofy and laugh and have like joking about things, also I feel release some resistance. And instead of feeling burnt out, I kind of was asking myself, how can I make this fun? If I'm going to do this, can I make it fun? Can I make this enjoyable? And bringing more of my personality online, like literally bringing it to the forefront. It's also why I post memes every Tuesday on my main account, because this is meant to be fun. This is meant to be pleasure too. We don't just have to learn through burnout and failure and stress and abandonment and pain. We can also learn through laughing and making things a little bit more enjoyable again. I always think of the dolphin too, has been a really big archetype for me, how a dolphin swims through life. What can I do to make myself a little bit more easy and swim through life? And that also helps me with burnout, but totally had that program.
Let's talk about that, being like the dolphin and swimming through life, because a lot of people have a lot of trouble with that, right? So, when it comes to programming your mind to see rest and, like, creativity comes when there's space for it. So, when you're used to go, 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 how do you switch to that feminine nature of being, like you said?
I have it as non-negotiables for myself at this point because I will go insane. Like, that's simply all there is to it. I don't like who I am when I don't have appropriate rest. And I have just built it into my day. I don't care if I'm dating someone. I don't care if I'm single. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you need from me. I have to make sure I'm spending time in the sun. I need to make sure I'm doing some sort of workout. I need to make sure I get my walk in. I need to make sure that I'm taking time to just like sit and recollect myself. So I think for me, I am an extreme person. So I work hard, I play hard, I rest hard. Instead of me trying to tell myself, "Oh, balance it." That's not me. And it's not that it's a program, it's not my energy. I'm a very intense person, but if I'm going to swing so far in one direction, I have to make sure I swing equally in the opposite direction. So if I'm going to go hard at creating something, I also need to make sure I go hard in resting. And I think that also was great training for me to speak up for myself. I actually can't do that because I need time to just be in my own system and feel myself out here. And then I can get back to you. And I see it as just an act of devotion. And at this point, I respect myself so much that I'm not gonna turn my back on the one person who's really getting me through everything. And yeah, so I just make sure if I'm going heavy and hard in one direction, I'm doing it equally in the opposite direction. Cause there are people who are so about balance and who are that's just how they are. I'm not that person. I'm just not. But I have my own definition of balance.
That's actually really good because a lot of people think if it doesn't fit into this mold that society tells me, it's wrong. So I
Yeah.
need to fix it and make it right. So
No.
your perspective is healthy in the way of it doesn't have to be their right. You can find what's right for you.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, talk about how interesting balance in the middle, balancing pressure and rest. Let's talk about what's one lesson you learned from burnout that you take with you now in the seasons of challenge?
Hmm. Definitely to always remind myself to give myself grace and compassion if I go there and I go too hard and I don't polarize with going hard and rest too. And I think it's also learning that different seasons invite you to do different things because I think I've even had people tell me to balance like a single day. But as women specifically, I live in accordance to the moon. I have my phases. There are weeks where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go so hard. And then the next week, I'm like, no one speak to me. I need to be in my shell. I am totally tortoising right now. I think I have learned that I'm a rhythmic being and balance might not look like I wake up at 8 a.m. every day. I have this full day and I'm sleeping by 10 p.m. Balance might look like I am creating for like 4 days straight. And then I have 5 days of rest. And I live in accordance to my cycle. And instead of trying to ignore my body's wisdom and what my body needs, how can I align myself with it? If I'm in my follicular phase, I feel a lot different than if I'm in my luteal. And instead of trying to override the program and tell myself, no, this is how you have to feel, I let myself go where I feel I want to go and embody whatever that energy is. And sometimes it's a lot of energy, and sometimes it's no one talk to me. I need to be in a cocoon. So I think reestablishing a relationship to my body, living in phases, in cycles, respecting that's just nature instead of trying to be in my masculine energy, live in accordance to a 24-hour cycle, be living in accordance to the sun. That's what we're programmed to do. That's not in alignment with me. And rejecting a sort of matrix conditioning and saying, actually, I'm going to go towards something that actually works for me. And sometimes it will be very masculine. It could be 3 days straight. I'm in my masculine energy and then it might go away, but I'm going to follow the energy. I'm going to follow my body's wisdom. And you have to give yourself grace when you're trying to follow something that you don't always even know what's going on. And I have given up trying to control everything with my mind and said, well, can I get more into my body and listen that way instead?
Right. The body's wisdom has led you to a lot of places that you wouldn't have been able to be if you would have stayed in your mind.
Mhm.
Talk about how does your body tell you when it's time to go? Like it's time to get out of here, it's time to make a left or a right, some kind of pivot and do it now. How does your body tell you that?
Ooh, yeah. Um, okay. I've gotten this feeling a lot. It has always come in relationship from visions. I remember one specifically, it was at the end of yoga. Jesus, I was talking to Ascended Master Jesus, and he said, it's time to jump off this cliff. And I was like, I'm not jumping off that cliff. And he goes, okay, I'll go with you. So he jumps off with me and then he says, this is fine. But if you want to see what you can actually do, what you're actually capable of, let go. And I did. I'm not kidding you. That day I went home from yoga and I broke up with my then boyfriend because I knew exactly what it meant. It was time for me to free myself. And there's a lot of people online who say, when you know, you know. And I actually do agree with that because when I met this most recent ex, I knew I was meant to date him. I knew I was meant to have a relationship with him. And then 3 months in, I knew it was over. I knew the soul contract was done. And I knew I was meant to move on. And what solidified it for me is our conversations. And I started to feel like, ooh, that's not in alignment with me. That would cause me to sacrifice what I really want. That's gonna make me make myself go into a small box. That's gonna cause me to lower my standard. When you start saying things like that, like, "Oh, that doesn't fit with me," and it's not a compromise. It's not, "Can we go to dinner at 5 instead of 7?" It's, "This is a completely different reality that I want you to live in." When it's that, you're going to start to feel anxiety. You're going to start to feel little, almost like it almost feels like sand in your stomach. It's a really odd feeling, but it's both empty and prickly. But you feel your body starting to contract, to constrict. You start to get the anxiety. Hunger levels, they go down. You start crying more. Your body is literally trying to tell you what once felt expanded. And it's fine that you wanted it then. It's fine that it was in alignment then. It's just no longer in alignment. And I think that we meet people and we assume, oh, this is my soulmate. They're going to stay forever. Not all soulmates are meant to stay forever. They're meant to arrive, they're meant to come in, they're meant to shed lessons and light, but not everyone's meant to stay together forever just because you have a soul contract, just because you've known their soul in past lifetimes. And I think being honest with myself and listening to my body, that contracting feeling, and learning how to navigate that really allowed me to ultimately, again, choose myself and choose my mission. And you'll also notice, so for me, after I broke up with him, my body felt okay again. Not immediately, because it's sad and you do love this person, but it's that internal knowing. And eventually you're like, oh no, I made the right decision. Sometimes it takes a couple of days, even weeks.
Right. So what would you say then to the people who are watching this and they're like, "Oh no, that I have that feeling right now.
Yeah.
Sand, emptiness, I have that." I'm gonna flip over 3 cards at a time. Give me a little blurb from your higher self
Okay.
in reference to each one. Judgment in reverse.
Well, it kinda sounds like reverse judgment, so I would just say, have compassion for yourself, have grace with yourself, and not everyone has to agree with you, but you're doing the right thing, because there are gonna be people who tell you, "Well, they're nice enough, they're good enough, they're great on paper." It does not matter. If it's not in alignment with you, it is your journey, and it's also your responsibility to remove what's not yours under your divine right so you can receive what is. So instead of judging yourself and feeling guilty, but they're so nice, but they're so much better than everyone I've ever dated, it does not matter. It doesn't matter if they're better, they might not be the best if you're feeling pulled to other relationships or to go in a different direction.
Yeah, yeah. The world in reverse.
Ooh, okay. um I'm a huge fan of going against what's prominent in culture. I would say that there are a lot of weird influences right now, whether it's in music or hookup culture. I don't like hookup culture. I think it's really bad for everybody. I would say instead of being seduced by what your friends are doing, by what's being seen as popular, follow your own path because you're going to find so much more bliss, pleasure, joy, and also abundance. If you want to unlock that divine inheritance, you don't wanna be doing what everyone else is doing, and you can't lead them if you're a part of the crowd. So let yourself step out from everyone else. It's okay to have seasons where it is a dark night of the soul, where you're in hermit mode, where you don't feel like you have a million people around you. I've had so many of those seasons. Those are by divine design, so you can recollect your soul's essence, so you can figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And honestly, if you're going against the grain, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Going against the grain means you're probably doing something right. There we go. Going against the grain, probably doing something right. 5 of wands.
Okay. I would say, let me think about this one or feel about this one, I should say. I'm just getting this feeling of just let everything go, regardless if you are mad at someone, you think someone like effed you over, you think someone betrayed you. Just let it all go, because if you continuously plug into that energy, you're going to recreate it. Instead of looking at the problem, try to embody the energy of a solution. And instead of saying, why did this happen? Ask yourself, what can I do to move forward? What can I do to bring joy back into my life? What can I do to have a little bit more fun around my own existence? I think some of us get really stuck in our past, and it just puts us on a hamster wheel of never feeling like we can move forward. If you want to move forward, you absolutely can, but you have to make the decision. And it can be as little as today, I'm not going to check their Instagram. Today, I'm going to try a new workout class. Today, I'm going to just break my routine and do something that maybe might help me mind, body, soul. I think that your higher self is never going to allow you to stay in places she knows you can transcend. So if people have left your life or you're feeling like you want to leave a situation, there is an absolute divine reason why that's happening. You don't need to know the why. You're just meant to experience it, trust the experience, and move through it.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, so think of everyone that's watching this, anyone who's on that hamster wheel. They're on the hamster wheel, you're standing over here. Strictly from that bitch's positive vibes. What oh boy, Ace of Swords, the Moon, and Six of Wands. What would you directly say to kind of coax that person off of the hamster wheel, but make them feel like it's their idea?
I would just tell them that you can absolutely transcend this. You have the power within you. You just have to decide that you're ready and willing to make a change. Like you already got it. You already have it. There's nothing outside of you that you need. There's nothing more that you necessarily need to collect or attract. You just have to make a damn decision. And it's as easy as saying, I'm no longer available to inconsistency, to chaos, to a past that depletes me. I now want to order into my reality. I now want to experience fun, joy, consistency, pleasure, more abundance. But it's all about what you're willing to accept. And most people don't like their reality because they lowered their standard because they were willing to accept it out of comfort because maybe they didn't think they could have more. They didn't think they were worthy of more. Just decide. It's really not that big of a deal. Just make the decision. Doesn't matter what you think you're worth. It doesn't matter what you think you can have. If you just decide, I'm not into this anymore, you'll get what it is you want. It is as little as a decision. People don't realize that a quantum leap is very, very little. It can be changing what you eat for breakfast. It can be going down a different route to just get to work. It will change the energy of everything. So, wanting to change, you're already 50% there. The extra 50%, that last 50% is just actually taking action. Baby steps, build big steps. No one's asking you to become the Queen of England tomorrow. We're just saying make a decision, take a baby step that's in alignment with that decision, and then do it again tomorrow and again tomorrow and again tomorrow. And eventually, just like you wring out a towel, you're going to wring out all those older emotions, those older attachments, and you're going to get yourself where you want to go. But give yourself the space and the time to do so.
Yeah. Okay, so if everyone grabbed a piece of paper and they put a circle in the paper, we're gonna call this CC circle,
Okay.
and in this circle, every day they're gonna write something, right? S Give people what they could write in this circle every day to remind themselves of their worth, like, fill in the blank.
I would really invite them to start encoding their reality actually and literally say, show me my worth externalized. Show me a true representation of my divinity in my reality. Because right now, you're most likely viewing yourself from your past experiences and your conditioning. So you're looking at external things. You're looking at your bank account, your current identity, your friendship circle. But if you want to see yourself through the eyes of the divine, ask the divine to show you. If you want to see how eternal, how abundant you actually are, ask the electromagnetic field to show you. So I would say by encoding your reality and saying, show me my true worth externalized, you are now switching your perception from your 3D limited human self to God's eyes, to divinity, to your higher self. And when you do that, you're going to start to get better results. You're going to get a confidence boost and you're going to start to question, damn, maybe I really am more than I thought I was, which you are, by the way, because you're looking at your physical self and you're not looking at your light, your beautiful energy, all the other lifetimes you've had, your abilities that are untapped. You're just looking at some physical little things.
So when everyone gets their sign, they can go to Vibin by CC and let you know that it came in because they can do that, put it up on the board and look at it every day. That is a manifestation tactic.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk manifestation then. Ace of Wands in reverse is a false start. When your manifestations aren't coming, how do you not succumb to frustration and giving up?
The 3D realm is delayed, so it's not always going to be very instant. That's kind of just like rule of this realm that we exist within, which is actually a good thing because if everything you thought manifested, there'd be a lot of things on the planet that I would think, "Oh, yeah, 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 no, thank you." So, it's a good thing. It's almost like when you go bowling and you know how they have the little gates on the side to make sure the ball doesn't go into into the side. It's like your bumpers. So, allow time to be your bumper, and just like an artist will continually sculpt away at their piece of art or continuously work at their, painting, your life is kind of like your canvas, it's your work of art. Allow yourself to take your time sculpting away. And if you see something in your reality, don't get seduced or sucked into it. Say, oh, wait a second. I'm no longer available for that. I've unsubscribed for that. I cancel that. I don't want that. But what I do want is X, Y, and Z. Use it as a trigger to plug deeper into what it is you actually want to manifest. And then remind yourself, my 3D reality is delayed. And then, yeah, it's a mirror, but it's a delayed one. So I'm going to keep plugging into faith because that is my grandest value instead of something that's delayed. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. So I would recommend using your 3D reality as a trigger to remind yourself what it is you do want, and then positively spiral about how grateful you are that this trigger is even here because now you get to encode your reality further by plugging into the emotions you do want to feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so let's take it in the direction of surrender. Your path now looks a lot different than how you initially thought it was going to. Talk about how sometimes we don't get what we want because space is being made for what is going to be best for us.
Our mind is so limited. I really believe that our mind is, or our ceiling is God's floor, I can say. And like I was saying before, our perception, our 3D senses, they're so limited. And you might think you want something, but I've seen it so many times. Someone wants a specific person, they manifest them, and the person sucks because we don't know. We think we have clues, we gander, but we don't necessarily know what's actually going to be for our highest good. So I always recommend if you're trying to manifest something, I would say, divine, give me this or something better. Just tack on something better at the end of it. That way you don't get stuck with something and wasting your own time. For me, I experienced so many times getting what I thought I wanted. And then I realized, oh, no, I don't. That I am just now, no, divinity, do your thing. I trust you. Do what needs to happen because when I do it, doesn't work out great. I mean, even just thinking about dating history, if I am to just use my mind to think about who's best for me, that's not going to help. I need to use my intuition. I need to pray about it. I need to check in with my dreams. I need to really plug in and ground myself to feel out the energy and the flow. It's beautiful to want things and desire things and to feel a pull towards things. Go towards them. But while you're going towards them, check in with the divine. Give me this or something better. Just have it as your bumper. Same thing as time is.
What has Okay, so you have had a lot of lessons in relationships that have given you that mindset. That wasn't something that you just, like, woke up to. You went through some stuff to get that
Yeah.
mindset. Oh, there's 7 of swords and the sun in reverse. Talk about one lesson you didn't expect to learn from betrayal that you only learned looking back after the fact.
Not all that glitters is gold. And experiencing a counterfeit energy, I did not know. I mean, I was just younger, but I didn't know. And I remember this person, I call all the men I date specimen, and this is this is specimen 232. Um that was his like favorite number. And when I met him, I thought, wow, he's so smart and he's so cute, and we have all these things in common. And then the more I got to know him, I started to have dreams that he had black, oily intestines. I had another dream like we were making out and he turned into an old, decrepit woman, like really scary, scary movie style. And then I started to see I like him, but the way he's treating me is not great. And he's actually wanting me to chase him. And so there was really no way for me to know that until after the fact. And now that I have greater discernment, because he gifted me discernment through that experience, I now can sense out when someone feels similar to him. And I know, ooh, okay, similar counterfeit spirit, similar experience where I need to have my discernment really on right now to sense out what this might be. And things can look really good. It doesn't mean that they are. People are really good at creating a mask and they're really good at knowing how to talk and they're really good at creating an image. It doesn't mean anything because that's all 3D based. If you really want to know about someone or something, you have to plug into the energy. You need to create space. You have to sit in meditation or before you go to bed, instruct your subconscious mind. Show me the truth about this. Give me a dream for it. I would say, yeah, not all that glitters is gold.
Yeah. So that is right in alignment with your expertise here with, like, love and relationships and meditation and manifestation. What would you say to the people watching this that are like, "Man, I wanna meditate, but every time I do, I'm all over the place. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere, and I can't just be here. I can't sit in my mind."
I would say it's not about stopping your mind, it's just kind of about watching your mind, almost like you're watching the waves. Just kinda see what comes up and write it down, because maybe things just need to be acknowledged and seen by you rather than controlled by you. So I always imagine meditation as, "All right, maybe I'll do a guided meditation today, or maybe I'll do a frequency." I kind of see how I feel. I don't do the same meditation every day. Sometimes I wanna meditate just to tap in with into my vessel, see what's going on. Sometimes I want to meditate to manifest, actually. Sometimes I want to do a walking meditation. Sometimes meditation to me is just coloring and being outside. There's no one right way to meditate. I see meditation as a way to tap into what you're feeling and thinking and just creating awareness of that, not making it into something else that it's not. If you're meditating and you're thinking, "Oh, my dog, oh, the stove, oh, the" okay, that's so cool, awesome. That was your experience. You got greater insight into what's going on in your internal body, and eventually, maybe you can unravel that and say, "Okay, I seem to be really plugged into externally focusing on many different things at once. How can I maybe slow down? What would make me ground myself?" And then I would say invite yourself to do something new. For me, doing yoga or golf or a new workout class, I had no other option but to be so present, so grounded, because if I don't, I'm going to fall on my face. So if you don't like meditating and experiencing your thoughts, having awareness of your thoughts, try a guided one. And if you don't like that, just try new things. That will do the same thing. It's going to ground you.
Right, yeah, that's a really good practical advice to look at it. Okay, so let's take it in the direction of shadows then. What is one shadow or wound that you feel like you use as a tool in your business?
So it's this is just making me think of more like a golden shadow, which is the gifts that we push down. And I feel like for the longest time, my intuitive part of myself, that psychic part of myself, I really pushed down. Number one, as a kid, I was petrified of it. I slept in my parents' bed till maybe fifth grade. I was very scared of the dark. And because I didn't like how it felt, and because I went to Catholic school, it was seen as demonic. So I really never tapped into it. But now that's my whole entire business. If I don't use my intuitive part of myself, I don't know what to channel or I don't know what to say, even just to a client. If we're just talking, I don't have a message. I won't know what to say on my podcast. I have to tap into my intuitive self that I siphoned off, that I really pushed down in order to just exist. And I think another part of my shadow was actually my feminine energy. I pushed that down growing up as well, listening to my own rhythm, my own flow, resting, and bringing that online really helped me get into a creative flow that would have not been possible if I just kept trying to do everything what I think is best, what I think is best, what I think is best.
Interesting, because I also was afraid of the dark and also went to Catholic school. So let's take it in
Wow.
that direction, because a lot of people, especially a lot of my YouTube people, it seems a common theme is, I want to be spiritual and I want to connect with that side of myself, but raised in this religion or this indoctrination. So talk about Page of Swords always makes me think problem solving. So, like, what's a different way that people could look at it if they feel like I want to connect with spirituality, but I have this underlying belief that it's wrong because of how I was raised?
Do your research because you have only been given part of the story. You have to go outside of what you've been told. Everything you believe most likely is just something you actually were told, and you were told so many times that you now think it's fact. But a belief is just a practice thought. And for me, I grew up Catholic church, went to a Jesuit college. But when I started reading Mary Magdalene's gospel, I was like, wait a damn minute. This sounds a little bit different. You have to realize that there are so many. I'll just talk about Christianity because that's kind of, I went to Catholic school, but I was basically a Christian. There are so many different strands of Christianity that they had to pick and choose what stories to put in the Bible just to condense it so that they could have power over people. So there are gospels like the Gospel of Thomas, Mary Magdalene that are not even included. They took out reincarnation because they didn't like it. You have to realize that there was so much more out there before a patriarchal society wanted to take control over other people. You have a part of the story, but that doesn't mean you have everything. I think like Jesus and the Essenes is an amazing book by Dolores Cannon. Mary Magdalene Revealed, another book that you can totally look into. Start looking outside of what you've been told if you actually want to find the truth, because no one really finds the truth just by listening to other people. They find the truth when they start digging for themselves. And I specifically would call on Jesus because that's just who I knew growing up the way I did. And when I actually got to know the energy of Jesus through meditation and connecting with him, that it's like so beyond anything you could read in the Bible. And I love the Bible. I read my Bible, but it's not all I read. It's the Bible end. And I think when you give yourself permission to discover, to go within, to go to that secret place within and also read materials outside of what you've been told you're allowed to, that is where you give yourself the truth. And if you're not comfortable with it, that's okay too. Like follow what makes you feel in truth and alignment. But I really think it's such a service to yourself to go beyond what you've been told, because there's evidence that Jesus went to India and he went to Egypt and he was doing Reiki and he understood how to use his power and his energy. And Jesus never intended for there to be a Bible that was created after the fact to condense and streamline power. So it's important to remember the intention behind certain creations. And we know this, it's the Council of Nicaea. The information's out there. It's not like that one's not hard to find, but it's important to look at.
That was very knowledgeable. That was very good. Let's take it in the direction then of knowledge is power. What would you say to someone that has a belief system they're questioning whether or not they've outgrown? How would you tell them to approach the questioning of the belief system?
I would say if you feel like you're outgrowing a specific belief system, you have to go outside of it. You have to experiment with new information. You need to shift what you're listening to, what you're reading, and how you're even going about your spiritual practices, because that actually is so typical. You should be outgrowing certain belief systems because as you learn more and you get more knowledge, you're going to change what you think, because that only makes sense. And I think we're so indoctrinated. Oh, if you change your mind, cancel culture this, cancel culture that. No, you're actually supposed to be wrong about some things and then find out more information and then change your mind. That's fine and dandy. And give yourself permission to water yourself and grow into more information. And I would just recommend you can even ask ChatGPT, like, what books are about this? How can I learn more about this? And it will give you a list of materials that you can start experiencing and looking into. And I think for me, when I started to feel like, why isn't anything working? Why am I not growing? That to me was a sign, okay, I need to expand what I'm reading, what I'm looking at. And then when I did, and I found more healing in those systems and those ways of being, that was like, okay, I'm going in the right direction. Track your results. How are you feeling? Did you shift something? Do you feel better? Are you getting better results? Okay, that probably means you're going in the right direction then. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to listen to the wisdom of that internal knowing.
Yeah.
I know it says lovers, but I wanna take in the direction of friendships.
Okay.
What is one way that you had to rebalance out your life on the other side of something you learned from a friendship or a loss of a friendship?
Ooh, so I had a very interesting experience. I, like I said, went to a little Catholic school. So from kindergarten throughout high school, I had the same group of friends, and they were like my sisters. And then eventually they just decided they didn't want to be friends with me anymore. So that was like, to me, almost worse than a breakup because you think BFF, friends forever, you don't expect that to end. And it was like seven girls at once. So my whole kind of world felt like it was ending in that moment. And it took me a long time to realize that if I stayed around those people who I loved and we served each other very well and have amazing memories, but if I were to stay in that orbit, it would have held me captive to that reality. And it was time for me to go on. It was time for me to grow. It was time for me to find my own voice. It was time for me to find my purpose. And I couldn't do that if I was gonna continue to gossip with them. I couldn't do that if I was gonna continue to go out every single weekend and do the same thing with them. I couldn't do that because honestly, they were a distraction. And I can acknowledge that they were great to have, but also I didn't lose them. I released them. It was just time for the soul contract to be over. And I think as humans, we really want to hold on to things, but it would do us such service to realize soul contracts start and some of them, most of them end. They don't always go on forever.
Okay, so let's take it in the direction of the soul contract then. In your experience working with clients and just life in general, what would you say scares people the most when it comes to letting go, even when they know it's what's best for them?
That they're not gonna find someone better, that they're letting the one, their twin flame, whatever they wanna call it, go, and it's never going to get better. Because they can't see the best option yet, they assume that there isn't. But that's believing your 3D more than believing divinity. That's you believing the illusion more than the truth. And yeah, it's just human nature to freak out when the familiar thing goes away because you literally have to get your brain on board with a breakup. Your brain's still going to look for the dopamine of that text, that call, that hug, that kiss. So you have to literally remind yourself why you're making the right decision for you, and that's why I recommend to my clients that they literally make a list why I made the right decision or why this is the best thing for me. And remembering instead of romanticizing why it wasn't going to work out anyway. Different value system, disrespected me, cheated on me, whatever it is, was inconsistent, nonchalant, can't give me what I actually need. You have to consistently and repeatedly remind yourself of the truth because if you don't, your mind is going to go to the mushy memories to try to get you to go back just because it wants the familiarity, it wants the dopamine. It's very much mechanical. So, I think they're afraid of letting go because they don't think they're going to get anything better. And I would just recommend give yourself time. Remind yourself why it wasn't going to work anyway, whether it's your decision or divinity's decision. It would not be happening if it wasn't inviting you towards something better. And you have to, and I know it's hard, it's so much easier said than done, but honestly, you have to just be so brave and you have to pray and you have to dig your heels into faith that you can attract better, and I promise you, you will. And the reason I can say it like this is because I've gone through the cycle so many times that now I just know it's truth. But there was a time where I didn't know that and I didn't think that. And I thought, oh, I'm never getting anything better. So I have compassion for that place that you can be in, and I know it sucks, but nothing sucks as much as staying around the wrong person. The feeling that you're feeling right now is temporary and it's in service of getting a better result. You trying to stick around people who are not supposed to be in your reality anymore, that is permanent displeasure and a lot of frustration. So let yourself feel, let yourself cry, let yourself scream, let yourself rage if you want to. It's going to go away. And eventually it will be okay, and you will be happier, and you will have more joy and fun and pleasure. It might not be right now, but you will get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. For the last cards, I'm gonna flip over one at a time. There's 5 left. A few lines per card from your higher self in reference to rewiring your reality. 10 of Pentacles.
Don't let your past dictate your present and your future. It doesn't matter what you've attracted in the past. It doesn't matter what you have seen in your past. Let your past rest in peace and instead realize and decide that in this present moment, you are literally a new person because you're deciding that you are. Every single day is a new opportunity to invite in more abundance, more love, more pleasure, more fun. Let your past rest in peace and give your attention to what actually can grow, which is your present.
Yeah, that was good. Page of Pentacles in reverse.
I would say allow invitations to come in and say yes to things you would usually say no to, and let yourself experience something new. Even if you feel like, I don't really know if this is for me. I don't really know. People are so hell bent on if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. But when you're transitioning into someone new, you don't even know what their like your next version of yourself. You don't know what her yeses and her nos are yet. So in order to actually get there, let yourself say yes to things that you previously would have said no to. Even if it's a date, even if it's a party, even if it's an event, even if it's a workout class, see who you can become in new environments because you might surprise yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at that card. Knight of Swords in reverse.
Hmm. I would say when things feel like they're going really fast, it doesn't mean you have to match that pace. A lot of energy might be moving around you, but you can still ground yourself in the present moment and go inward and ask yourself, what feels right to me? How do I want to take my next step? There's going to be seasons where you are out and about more. There's going to be seasons where there there's more work to do. Like it is simply like what it is. Remember that it's temporary. So enjoy it if it's busy and it's fun. And if you don't like it, remember that it's not going to last forever.
Absolutely. The Chariot in reverse.
I kind of just want to say there's this kind of notion that no one is going to come into your life and save you, but I do believe that there's so many people soul contracted to you that's going to help you. And they are going to show you how cool you are, and they are going to love you, and they are going to show you your worth, and they are going to value you, and they are going to celebrate you. And if you didn't meet them yet, it doesn't mean they don't exist. You just didn't meet them yet. They exist in a frequency that might be a little bit different than where you are right now. The fastest way to get to them is to pour into yourself, self love. What brings you joy? Go do that. What's something you've always wanted to try? Go do that. Take care of your physical vessel, drink the water, do the yoga, be in the sun. Everything you want exists, but it just might be at a different frequency. In order to get there, water yourself.
Yeah, that was good. Everything you want exists. It just might be at a different frequency. If you want to get there, water yourself.
Yeah.
King of Cups in reverse.
I just want to end this like on a high note. I feel like you're going to get everything you want and more. You're listening to this damn podcast. It means you're on the journey. You're doing your thing. You are trying your best. And you know what? There's so many human beings who are grown adults, but yet they still embody the energy of their inner child. And they don't believe in more. They don't think they can achieve more. But you obviously have some sort of either pull in you or knowing within you or inkling that you can have more. And if you have that little inkling, you're going to do it because that inkling's not going to go away. It's only going to grow louder. So celebrate yourself, be proud of yourself for even listening to this information. And I'm just really excited for whoever's listening to this right now because I can't wait to see what they achieve and what they embody and what they attract.
Absolutely. You're definitely giving them really good tools to do that.
Yay.
Okay, so we're going to do one last card. First, the same thing that we were just doing with like the reprogramming the reality. First, speak on something with the shadow, and then I'm going to flip over the card, and then you can speak on something on what the card is.
Invite your shadow to the light because when you walk around trying to shut off parts of yourself, you waste so much damn energy and you're siphoning your power. It's like if you existed this whole entire time with two arms and then tomorrow you cut one off, it's going to be harder to exist. You have to now overcompensate for not having that arm and you don't even know how to exist like that. So it's going to be harder. I think people think it's easier to siphon parts of themselves they think are not acceptable or lovable. But it's actually harder because you block off the right people, you block off the right opportunities, you block off the right circumstances and environments because you're not allowing yourself to broadcast your authentic frequency. So, how is everything that's meant for you supposed to find you when you're not even embodying you?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfectly said. The wound of the shattered compass, lost direction after betrayal.
Let yourself be lost because I actually don't believe we're ever lost. I think when we feel lost, it's because we're finding a new frequency. We're finding a new identity. We're learning something different and we're about to go through a huge shift. If you're lost, it means you're untethered to your old reality and you're kind of in that liminal space of not where you were, but not yet where you're about to be. Let yourself be in the unknown. Let yourself be surrendered in the unknown. If you knew every step to take, that would mean that you're still in an old reality, but you don't even want that reality. So let it go and have comfort in I might not know what step to take. I might not know what comes next, but I know there's an eternal divine essence that is supporting me throughout this whole entire time. And I just have to keep moving forward. And honestly, sometimes it's kind of more fun because one day you're going to, if you want, be married and have kids or live whatever kind of life you want to have, and you're going to know what comes tomorrow and you're going to have a lot of comforts and a lot of knowns. While you don't have all the knowns, allow yourself to be adventurous. Allow the universe to romanticize you. Allow miracles to come in that you could have never perceived prior and let yourself live. That's kind of what life is, kind of letting yourself live like a human.
Yeah. Yeah, like the point of the human journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just summed it up. They
Yeah.
make it so much more complicated than it needs to be, but it's that.
I totally agree. You would be so bored if you knew everything that was going to happen. Like if you had to wear the same thing every day, eat the same thing every day, do the same workout every day, you would get bored. And one day that boredom will probably be there. So enjoy it while it's not. And there's newness coming into your reality every day.
Absolutely. Any final words?
I just love everyone who's listening to this. And I'm so proud of them for listening to the whole thing and for really taking the reins on their own reality. And I hope they achieve and attract and embody everything that they're looking for.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I love this was so different than any podcast I've ever done. I loved it.
Oh, yay. We'll have to come up with some ideas. I do have an outro. You have not heard it yet. I can't wait to see your reaction to this. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't play it safe. She brought the version of herself that used to stay quiet and let her speak. Cece didn't tell us what healing should look like. She showed us what it takes to live through it. The confusion, the code switching, the cost of staying where you're not met. She didn't need to prove her power. You could feel it in the pauses, in the parts where her voice didn't rise, but her truth did. Some people teach with lessons. She teaches by living out loud. And if today made you uncomfortable in the right places, don't numb it, name it. Thank you again so much, Cece, for being here. And thank you to everyone for watching. This was another episode of Humans for Humanity, and we will see you again in the next one.